Good morning. Kalimera. Happy New Year. There are many of you that celebrated your name days this week, the Vasilis and Vasilikis, the Bills, all those who are celebrating Χρόνια Πολλά on your name day. And this coming week we have many feast days. Foti for Epiphany, and of course Ioannis, Ioanna, John, Joanna, all those are celebrating the feast of St. John. If you're new to our parish, if you're new to the area and are going to plan to stay for a while, welcome to our church. If I can ask that you please fill out one of the white connection cards that are in the pews in front of you and give them to our greeters today, who are Tom and Christy Pestamir, who are right up here in the front, and Julie Palios, who is right over there. And so we can get you connected to our community. Welcome to those who are visiting and just passing through. And today in our parish, the first Sunday of the month, as we do every month, is Get Acquainted Sunday. So when you go next door into the hall, put on one of the name tags so everyone knows who your name is, and we can greet each other by name. You should try to make your goal every month during Get Acquainted Sunday to meet at least one person that you don't know, so you can get acquainted with them and enlarge the fellowship circle of our community and your own personal social circle with people who are of the same faith and of the same faith community. This week we have several services here at St. John's. On Tuesday morning is the feast of the Eve of Epiphany, and we're going to celebrate the royal hours of Epiphany. This precedes Epiphany and Christmas and Pascha. There's a service called the Royal Hours. We're going to celebrate at 8 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, followed by Divine Liturgy at 9:30, and at 10:30, the Blessing of the Waters. That'll be here at St. John's on Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, there is the Divine Liturgy for Epiphany over in Tarpon Springs at St. Nicholas. And so we will not have services here Wednesday morning. But very important in the life of the community, we will have Vesper service here Wednesday night. That is the feast of St. John the Baptist. It's the tradition in the Orthodox Church, when you have a major feast day, that the day after the major feast day commemorates the secondary saint of the feast. So on Wednesday is the feast of the Epiphany of Christ. Obviously, he is the main figure. And so the day after Epiphany, January 7th, is the feast day of St. John the Baptist, the secondary saint of the feast. And so St. John is the patron saint of our church, and we'll celebrate his feast day by having Vespers services, which is the service that begins the day. The day begins at sunset. So at sunset on the 6th, we're already beginning the Feast of St. John. And so we'll have Vespers at 6:30 on Wednesday night. And on Thursday morning at 9:30, we will celebrate the Divine Liturgy for St. John's. This feast day is made more special because His Eminence Metropolitan Alexios will be with us both Wednesday evening and Thursday morning, together with all the clergy of the Tampa Bay area. So I hope that you will come and welcome our Metropolitan, welcome the visiting priest, and enjoy fellowship. There's a reception after the Vespers hosted by Philoptochos, and a luncheon on Thursday following the Divine Liturgy. And of course, we'll have liturgy next Sunday. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I bet there's some people in church that made going to church their New Year's resolution. Because I see some people in church that I don't see necessarily every Sunday, and that's a good thing. Now, thank God that He has given us years. He's given us periods of time that end, and new periods of time that begin. So if you're someone who doesn't come to church very often, you're 1 for 1 on the new year. You're batting 1,000. We said a prayer on New Year's Day in the church to forgive all the sins of the old year, to forget all the sins of the old year. We're not carrying them over. So if I said, who's missed a Sunday at church in 2016? Nobody has. No one's asking about 2015. So you are 1 for 1. Next week, make it 2 for 2. All right? This is one of the great things. Thank God we don't have a year that never ends. Some people didn't have a great 2015. And we're looking forward to a good 2016 for everybody, whether you had a good year or whether you didn't. Now, how many people, just out of curiosity, made a New Year's resolution? How many people made a New Year's resolution? No, very few. We're not resolved people. Maybe we're realistic people. That. Maybe we're Greek. There's nothing wrong with us. We're good just the way we are. Resolutions needed. It's probably that one, right? Anyway. I hope you make some resolutions, especially some spiritual ones. If you're not in the habit of praying every day, start praying every day. If you're not in the habit of reading the Scriptures, start reading the Scriptures. When I was a Boy Scout many moons ago, we had a slogan. Anybody here a Boy Scout? Anyone know the Scout slogan? What? Do a good turn daily. The motto is be prepared. The motto is be prepared. The slogan is do good turn daily. And so when I was brand new in Scouts, I was 11 years old, and they said, you got to look for something to do a good turn for somebody every day. Preferably not your family, because you're sort of obligated to them. So go look outside your family for somebody you don't even know and try to do something good for them. And don't let the sun set. Don't go to bed without having done some good turn for somebody else. That's a great resolution. Because if you work on your prayer life and you work on your scripture reading, that's going to help your relationship with God. That's going to help you love God more. And if you work on doing a good turn daily, that's going to help you love your neighbor more. And those are the two great commandments. Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor. So these are the things that we should be resolving to do this year. And yes, hopefully there are other resolutions also. In the epistle reading this morning, it's something that we read once a year on this Sunday before Epiphany. And I know that the Church Fathers put this in the lectionary because of Epiphany, but it sort of fits with the new year. And it's a good checklist for yourself. The epistle lesson was very, very short today. And there's one verse of the epistle that I want you to remember. And it says, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. Fought the good fight, I finished the race, I've kept the faith. I wrote on the prayer team yesterday, for those who are reading on the prayer team, and if you would like to join the prayer team at any time, just send me an email saying I want to be on the prayer team, and you'll get an email from Father Stavros every morning at about 12:30 in the morning with hopefully some words of inspiration for the day. But I referenced this epistle, and I said this makes a worthy epitaph for a Christian. In fact, when it's all said and done, I think this is probably what I want on my headstone. I fought a good fight, I finished the race, I kept the faith. This is the thing that I want to be able to tell the Lord when I meet Him. I fought a good fight, I finished the race, I kept the faith. And this is a good checklist for any Christian at any point in your life. How are you doing in your Christian life? Can you look in yourself in the mirror? Can you stand in front of an icon of Christ and say, I'm fighting a good fight. I'm running my race. I'm keeping the faith. Can you do those three things in front of yourself and most especially in front of God? Can you say those things with a clear conscience? And if you can't say those things for whatever reason, now that we're in the new year, make a resolution for yourself to be able to say these things by the next year when we get to this day, next year on this Sunday. You can say, I'm fighting a good fight, I'm running my race, and I'm keeping the faith. Now, in terms of finishing the race, there's no competition here. We're not running a race against other people. The competition is only for ourselves. We have to finish the race. We don't have to necessarily finish first. We don't necessarily have to finish in great triumph. We just have to finish the race. We've got to finish the race. And the race is like a marathon. It's not a sprint. And for those who are distance runners, you know that when someone starts running a marathon, they don't think about the whole race. They just think about the next mile of it. And they say, if I can do a good time on this mile, and then a good time on the next mile, and then a good time on the next mile, then I'm going to have a good race. But they don't focus on the whole race because that's just too long. So as they're running the marathon and you're 3 or 4 or 5 miles in, you're thinking to myself, am I running a good race based on how much time I'm averaging per mile? All right, so the race of the human life is long for most people, hopefully. And so all of us are in the middle of the race somewhere. Some of us maybe have just started running, so we're in the early stages. And some of us have been running for a long time, and we're in the later stages. And so we have to ask ourselves, how am I doing in this race? Am I on track to finish strong? Am I on track to keep the faith all the way to the end? don't look at the people around you in terms of the race, because they're running a different race. Everyone's running a different race. For some people, the race is going to be shorter than others. For some, the race is going to involve being parents or being children or different careers. And some people aren't going to have that in their race. So the barometer that we should be measuring ourselves with is the race that God has set for me as an individual. How am I running in that race? Am I doing a good job? Am I putting in a good effort? Am I fighting a good fight? And am I keeping the faith? All right? So have this in your mind. Are you fighting a good fight? How are you doing in the race that God made for you? And are you keeping the faith? This is ultimately what we're going to answer to God for. It's amazing that the scriptures are so vast in what they say, but you can take just little pieces out, like this one verse today, and say, if I made my whole life about that, what kind of life I would have. So this week, fight the good fight, run the race. Hopefully no one's finishing the race this week. Run the race well, and keep the faith at all times. And make this your resolution, and stack up your spiritual life against these three things, and see where it goes. Thank you for being here today, and I hope that we're all going to be 2 for 2 next week. Have a wonderful week. God bless you.